awkward.
6. Yeah, it was really, the knees touching was not a good thing. Next question. Does your community have boundary markers? And if so, what are they? And if not, why not? And now, let me explain this. A lot of people want to, for all the pastors that I've actually had come in so far, I say boundary markers, and they're thinking the electric fence was saying do not enter on it. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm kind of like saying, oh, here's a marker that says, okay, now I'm in this sphere of influence rather than in that sphere of influence. How do you know you're part of your community? Did you pay attention to that?
I did. I'm trying to process it. I was looking at this last night, and I watched a video, and I saw them do the same. What you're saying?
You're one of the 5 people who watched the YouTube videos.
There were actually 4 when I started, so I was number 5. Yeah, and obviously, I hate the concept of boundary markers. It rubs me. The boundary marker for us, are we talking in terms of leadership, or are we talking in terms of just belonging
to the community? What's the boundary marker?
The boundary marker is are you seeking Jesus, and do you want to do it here?
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
That's a real boundary marker.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Are you interested in this Jesus guy, and do you want to figure it out in this community? And so we have a number of people in our community right now who they would call themselves, this is their church.
Right.
Now, in my old world, I would be like, it's not your church. You only come once a month. Barely. But they're seeking Jesus, and they feel like they belong here. If you call them up and said, where's your church? They'd say the Well, hands down. And it would be a significant, very significant thing in their life. And they're seeking Jesus, and God's Spirit is active. And I don't want to be like, well, you don't really belong here because you haven't come in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months even. Are you seeking Jesus, and is this your community? And I believe as they're in the midst of our community, and we're calling people to community, and calling people to family, and calling people to Jesus, the Spirit will work. And it's obviously this relational thing again. Are you seeking Jesus? Then good, you're part of this community. Done.
Yeah, I'm going to answer that 2 ways. First of all, as what Todd's saying, 1 John 2:6, whoever claims to live in him must walk as Jesus did. It's a great verse. And we're basically saying the same thing. If you want to learn to walk as Jesus did, you're more than welcome here. And so I don't have to go through the whole, deal. Sometimes boundary markers. We're actually starting a series tomorrow night called "Jesus Came to Save Us from Being Pharisees." So this idea of boundary markers is actually at the forefront of my mind. This week as we sort of prepare that. So my answer 1 would be: are you looking to seek after Jesus and know more who He is? Yes, you're in. That's great. I would also answer that on the flip side with our unique structure to say, oftentimes people feel like we're encouraging people to pick a venue and stick with it. So if you come Sunday morning, we don't want you to feel like you got to come back Sunday night to Resonate. Okay? If you just go to Resonate and you're just as much involved at Calvary Church than if you went in the morning or midweek service or something like that. And so I think that pick and stick idea has been difficult for people. They think that maybe I'm more spiritual if I go in the morning and then come back at night. That if I'm there at every service, that doesn't make you more spiritual. That makes you more tired. and so we just encourage people: would you jump in and get involved in one place? Because if not, we can sometimes feed that consumerism, and we just sort of pull the crank on the carnival ride and just allow a little spiritual experience, a little whirl around, and then they jump off and run to the next ride at the carnival. And so we encourage people: stick in one place, serve in one place, jump in one place, but at the same time, we're not beating you over the head if you're going elsewhere. We just say the greatest way we think you can flesh out being Jesus-ish, being connected, being serving, being in a serving setting, is also to be involved with those people who can be a family. It's hard to say, hey, what's your name again? When you're involved in a... No, I wasn't pointing to anybody, Wes.
There's nobody there.
So...
doesn't know that. They think this place is filled with lots of people. And we like them to think that.
I just ruined it. That's good.
Shoot.
So I would answer it 2 ways. Yeah, you want to seek Jesus, yes, but...
You identified a boundary marker earlier.
What would that be?
Because not everybody who attends Resonate is free to accept communion.
True, correct. That would be one.
There's a boundary marker,
Yep,
which is
exactly
genuine,
right.
which is not, and you are very delicate in how you present that, you're not like saying, you're evil person, how dare you even touch the plate, but...
Right, and boundary markers aren't bad. What can be bad is if we're not careful in how we clearly, compellingly, and compassionately explain why boundary markers exist. Where there's a problem is where a boundary marker exists because we're better than you. Or that's perceived that others are better than us, or So I think boundary markers are very healthy and appropriate as long as we're explaining why those exist.
And in kind of the pre 3 years ago of the well, we had unspoken boundaries in our church. The unspoken boundaries were this: if you knew the pastor, you were in. If you went over to the pastor's house for lunch, you were in. If you didn't know the pastor, good luck. And that's how it worked. Like, no one said that. I mean, we probably wouldn't have admitted that then, but it was very hard to feel a part of our community because it's very pastor-centric.
And a lot of churches are.
Yeah. And like, if you knew myself or Brad, you were good. And if you didn't, well, you probably ended up leaving in about 2 months. We had what we called a very big front door and an even bigger back door. People love checking out our church. They'd be like, "This is great worship. What a great, awesome community." And like, a month later, like, I don't know how to get to know anybody. What do I do? This isn't a family. This is like a cult.
Yeah, and I think you're right. We have to identify those unannounced. In every church, there are boundary markers that are unhealthy that we've never talked about.
Right.
And we've got to acknowledge those. Galatians 3:28, there's neither Greek nor Jew, male nor female, slave nor free, and all that exists because there were barriers that existed, right? A Pharisee prayer was, "God, thank you that you did not make me a Gentile, a Gentile, a woman, or a slave. Thank you." That was a prayer by the Pharisees who created these boundary markers. And we may go, "Oh, can you believe that?" We create those all the time, right? Yeah. I'm socially in, I'm socially out. Oh, I'm serving, I'm not. Oh, you don't serve. Oh, well, I don't know. We do that all the time. We've got to address those sometimes up front to say, you know what? We will not tolerate this. We can't, have this division or these cliques, social cliques that exist. And
we have to find ways to, we've had to find ways to address that situation. So we've tried to create multiple environments to enter into our community rather than the one point of the pastor.
Right.
And I'm happy to be able to say, I don't know everybody in my church. Kind of happy to say that. I want to know everybody in my church, don't get me wrong, but I don't have to. It's not required for me to know them for them to feel like they belong anymore. There's people who've been coming for 6 to 8 months who I'm just getting to know, and I mourn that, but I'm excited that they're still around because they wouldn't have been 3 or 4 years ago.
Because they have relationships with
because they have. We've said this is not about me. We've created environments where other people are leading things and other people are getting involved, and that they can enter in through, in New Jersey, there's more than one bridge. Not that people actually want to get in, but if they wanted to, they can come over more than just to
actually, when you get here, you have to pay to get out. It's very hard.
But there's more than one bridge to get into Jersey. There's a multiple number of bridges, and if there was only one, it'd be kind of hard to get in. That might actually be better off.
Well, some of the bridges that come into New Jersey actually go places.
Really?
Yeah, there's others that they just come over and you get off. You're like,
but the point is there. Like, you have more than one way to get in, and if there was only one, it would be a bottleneck, and most people just couldn't get in, and that would be a problem.
Yeah, that would be bad.